Obviously, as a founder of NEXA, I'd like to ask you, what you were doing before you came to NEXA. What is it that got you and Mike to do this? Rumor has it it was your idea. And then, what advice you might give to anybody looking to come to NEXA?
Well, my mortgage life was, I started off with, with Mike. I was in the middle of changing careers, and I wanted to do something different, something a little bit more challenging. Mainly wanted to get back into commission sales, and I was looking for, what avenue I wanted to do. And for some reason, mortgages and math and all that stuff, and I have like a finance background and all that stuff.
Yeah, you've got an
So
MBA, right?
yeah, I did. I got my MBA. So for some reason, like that was what was speaking to me. So I chose to leave where I was at. I chose to leave that company where I was, sales manager for a long time, but almost 10 years, leading a high performing team and doing a lot of coaching, a lot of training, all that stuff, a lot of developing, turning them into like some of the top salespeople there. And I decided to put my money where my mouth was. So, I decided to get into mortgages, and I knew one thing that I was really good at. I knew I was really good on the phones. I knew that I could sell. So I knew that I didn't have a hard time or a difficult time relating to the client, and then finding the product that I felt would be, best suit their needs, and then make those two things together and come together and provide a service. So that was my goal, and so I decided to get into mortgages.
Right.
And it was just one of those. I like helping people. I have a passion for helping people, and I have a passion for wanting to be successful. And I'm very competitive, so that's why you put sales with that, and it made the most sense. So immediately we took off, and I very quickly I became the production for the branch. So in doing so, it was cool. I got to see a lot of things. I got to see, I was that loan officer when my door was closed, when it was time to dial, I was hitting the phones. And then I was also in my spare time in between dials, I was Googling everything, and I was reading guidelines and reading the lender overlays to understand how I could present the options better to my clients. And that's what I did. So I was a real guru um, on guidelines, and I was naive, so I didn't say no to a loan. So I mean, I'm talking like some really hard loans, a couple easy ones sprinkled in there. I was like the only guy in the entire office who was wanting to jump and do USDA loans. So I learned that on my own, and it became really good. So after a short time there, Mike and I then switched to a different lender. We opened up the first branch in Arizona for another lender, and at that point, we're kind of working more as a team.
Right.
He's still labeled the branch manager, but the two of us are kind of running the branch together. But I'm still the production, and our passion, my passion to I didn't know I didn't have a warped view of mortgages. Mike had been in it for years,
Right.
and he would always tell me, every time you go to like all these lenders out there, like they're missing something. Like they're not offering something. Like they paint that the grass is greener, and you get there, and then you're stepping in turds. And it's like, and honestly, it's like he's like, dude, that's honestly how it is. And I experienced it firsthand. So when I first worked at the lender that I first started with Mike, I didn't know any better.
Right.
But then once we switched to the other lender, it was like, hey, the grass is greener. This is, and it felt really good in the beginning, but really quickly it got tarnished a little bit. I mean, we're talking, understanding why rates would throttle up when the market was remaining flat.
Why your companies were raising their prices even though the markets were flat?
Exactly, right? Like all of a sudden, they were throttling the margin to make more money on certain types of loans, and all of a sudden now your rate went up a quarter to 0.5%, and you have no reason why. There's nothing statistical to back it up. There's nothing
Market
the
driven.
markets that are going on to back it up,
Yeah.
but you're having to sell a higher rate.
Yeah, a friend over there in Arizona with a different company, he told me that about a month ago. He said that they raised their rates, but they didn't, so it makes it harder for him to sell. But he's not getting a percentage of it. It's all going into the company.
Exactly, 100%.
Got it.
So it was just one of those things. Like we were looking for a lender that we were looking to go somewhere where it checked all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you mentioned that it was my idea to go broker. It was because you got to understand, being client facing,
Yeah.
being on the front lines. I was the one who was dealing with, like, if a client didn't have a specific credit score, I had to say no. If we didn't have that particular loan in our program in our tool bag, I had to say no, or help them with whatever it had to be. I had to
Right.
turn them away.
Right.
And that wasn't our mentality. Is to help everybody. The mentality is to help as many people as we possibly can. And in order to do that, I started hearing more chatter about brokers. And I started hearing about how they're kind of like free agents. They can deal with multiple lenders. They can have hundreds of products at their disposal and write more loans. And to me, that was the most enticing part. So Then
So
it
you didn't have to
became
turn people away.
and that's exactly it. I wanted to help more people, and I wanted to have more control doing it. I didn't want to, you know, what I mean by more control is I didn't, I wanted to make sure that the rate that I was selling, I mean, it's as a broker, it is directly related to what's going on in the market.
Right.
It's as closely related to that as possible. There isn't a branch throttling pricing here and there. We don't have that. We don't have all these other levels of management that we have to pay. Like all of a sudden, I didn't realize, but we brought on a business development manager, and ironically, my rate went up a quarter. And I'm like, where'd this come from? And I looked at started doing the math, and the margin jumped, 75, 100 basis points, and I'm like, something's there. Like, so there's a reason why that happened.
Yeah, the
right?
marketing guy. The
Yeah,
manager.
and at the time I was kind of naive and I was young, but looking back on it now, I know exactly what that was to help grow the branch, make it bigger, right? We had to bring on a director of processing. Well, my rate went up a little bit then too, and it's like, wait a second, right? So,
Yeah.
I didn't want any of that stuff tied to it.
So you just created Nexus so that it would be bare bones
Yeah, we created NEXA
from a pricing standpoint.
You would, yeah, from a price. From my perspective, it's more about pricing. It is more about being transparent to the loan officer. Like, I didn't like being told how I had to do my business. I didn't like, in the retail world, being told that, here's our model. You have to work within this model. I liked having freedom. I'm entrepreneurial in spirit, and I like being able to like run my business. As long as my business is profitable, my expectation is, and Mike's expectation is the same. With our LOs, we want you to run your business the way that you see fit. Create a business plan, create a model, let's put it on paper, let's take a look at it, and run it in a profitable manner that's compliant. And do you, like, go out there and be you. Go out there and sell, do whatever you need to do, create the team the way that you feel you need to create it to be the most successful for you. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to dictate, we're not going to put you in a box. That's not what NEXA does. And we're very passionate about that because we were stuck in a box where we were at. And for us, it's a big pain point, and we want to make sure our LOs don't get stuck in the box.
Well, again, thank you so much for letting me take some of your time. Again, proof that you're there for us. So thank you so much, sir.
All right, Eric, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you have a good one. Thanks,
You
Matt.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.